That's not the plan. You obviously have a very close relationship with Jay Prince, who is, listen, he's a pioneer. We talk about pioneers. He kind of kicked off so much for so much of just everything we see now. When we think about Rap-A-Lot Records, and he kind of laid the blueprint on how to do this label thing for a lot of people. You helped him with his book. Like, how did you and him end up becoming a point to where he could kind of confide in you and trust to kind of help with his story?
I've known Jay for a long time. I mean, definitely like 2005-ish when I started going out to Houston pretty heavy. This is when, Pimp C was coming out of prison, and he was doing a lot. I think Rap-A-Lot was through Asylum at that point.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, because
Asylum would send us a lot of work because they had
all the Southern shit. Yeah,
they had a lot of Texas artists were really having their moment, and that was one thing I kind of went into the history of that in the book. This ended up being just more than just Pimp C. It was kind of Southern rap in general. Actually, what happened was that Southwest Wholesale, which they started distributing rap because of UGK, it was like the first album that they actually distributed. It wasn't something they did before,
right? And
it showed them this could be a really profitable business model. So for all that time between, I want to say, early 90s and 2005, all these Texas artists had access to Southwest Wholesale, which was selling like hundreds of thousands of units without them being signed to a major. So, the Slim Thugs and, all these guys had access to a distribution outlet where they can make a lot of money and not have to go through a major. Certain things transpired, and honestly, it's been 8 years since I wrote this, so I don't remember all the specifics, but it's in the book. As far as on the business end, how Southwest fell apart, they went out of business, or I think they just went bankrupt. And so at that point, that's why all the Houston artists started to get signed around 2005, because now they didn't have a distribution
because they didn't have the distro, yeah.
So they had to go get deals, and that's why you saw this explosion of artists.
Yeah, Slim Thug was
from
with
Texas.
Star Trek, and then Swishahouse was
right.
I mean, everybody. I feel like Asylum really had a Texas
Asylum
in the chokehold.
Yeah. But yeah, so I got to spend a lot of time with Jay around that time, just being in Houston. I mean, if you're in Houston, like, you kind of have to, he's a part of everything out there. So
right. We've heard.
But to his credit, definitely. I mean, he would always kind of take me under his wing and just, he's not someone who's gonna, I want to say give you like a lot of instruction, but it's more like he'll just kind of let you watch the way that he handles situations. Right. And that's how I like to learn anyway. Like, I just like to observe. So he would allow me to kind of be around for a lot of business type situations and just kind of observe how he handles it. And so I learned a lot that way. And I don't know for a fact, if this was a factor in him putting out his book, but I did a chapter on Jay Prince in the Pimp C book.
Pimp C book, yeah.
And it's... I probably went like a little left field with it. I mean, I definitely put a lot of extra context, but I just felt like it was a great story. And it also helps you understand what was happening. The time when Pimp C got arrested, I believe it was 9 days earlier. There was a congressional hearing, or maybe it was the Senate. I don't remember. There were large government hearings about Rap-A-Lot.
Right. I remember hearing about that.
Because there was a huge DEA investigation.
Yeah.
They were determined to find, and they couldn't find anything.
Yeah, and they were following him. And I mean, I remember he told a pretty crazy story on Joe Rogan. I was just like, it was pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Senate is part of Congress, right? I should know this.
Like, let's be clear. No, Congress and the Senate are different.
I know this isn't a politics.
No, Congress and the Senate are different. That's a part. They're the part of the judicial branch.
Congress is the Senate and the House.
But
So it's...
Yeah,
wait, you're right.
The Senate hearing it was a congressional Senate hearing. I think I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah,
there's like a 300, it's like a 400 page transcript of that hearing is like the craziest thing I have ever found on the internet. And I read it all like, this is fucking amazing. I have to make this a chapter.
Jesus.
But when you understand, Pimp C at that time, he's beefing with Master P. He's running around talking a lot of shit. He's wearing a Rap-A-Lot piece. And the DEA has been investing, like they spent who knows how much money. They had all these agents on full-time payroll for like a whole summer trying to find something on Rap-A-Lot. So they're investing a lot of money. The federal government, the Houston police, they're investing a lot into try to find something on this company. And so Pimp C is representing this company. Well, and so he got in an altercation with a woman at a mall, and all he did was allegedly like flashed a pistol at her because she said something about Master P. Oh, I don't fuck with you, I fuck with Master P. And he showed her he had a pistol. In Texas, that's aggravated assault.
Really?
So he never touched her. She wasn't injured.
Right. It feels like the
and she was a booster. Like
I
she
was
had
gonna
a
say
long history.
that feels like
boosting.
a non-Texas thing to be aggravated. I feel
mean,
like in Texas,
you can wave guns.
that's what I mean. I feel
yeah.
like I feel like in Texas they'll give you a tax break if you flash your gun.
Yeah. Well, now it is.
Back then it wasn't for sure.
Back then, well, he had really terrible timing. When you look at what was happening in the criminal justice system, mass incarceration, the DEA is investigating rap a lot, so it helps you understand how he ended up in prison over this relatively minor situation. But I say all that to say, my book came out, and then Jay, I believe, had done a draft of his book with Jasmine Waters, and so I think it may have prompted him. Hey, if I don't tell my story, it's somebody else is going to tell it. And
You got to tell your own story. Yeah, you got to control your narrative.
So when I talked to him, I mean, the whole, Rap a Lot from the beginning has always been about doing it independent.
For sure.
Same as Ozone. So he's in a position where he could get a publishing deal and, get a check to just put it out through somebody else. And I said, well, that doesn't really fit your, the Rap a Lot spirit.
Not the Rap a Lot. That's not the Rap a Lot way.
So I had learned a lot about the distribution side doing my own book. Nobody wanted to give me a publishing deal for Pimp C. Everybody in New York publishers were like, who? What? Pimp? So I put it out myself, learned a lot. And so I basically helped him create a book publishing arm of Rap a Lot to put out the book.
Oh, fire.
Independently. So, yeah. I that was a great, we had a great run doing promo and stuff for that. We came and did your show.
Yep. I was going to say, is it, because I think.
We went and did the Daily Show. That was the highlight for me. I always wanted to go to the Daily Show.
With Trevor Noah, or was it Jon Stewart?
Noah, yeah.
Shout out to Trevor. I love Trevor Noah. I don't know who's into it now. Who knows?
Actually, it was BET Awards weekend. That was a crazy weekend. We did.
So was that
2018? I went to a BET Awards after party.
2018? 2019?
2018.
Yeah.
I think that was the year I climbed over the fence to get to Jamie Foxx's house. Might have been the year. Maybe it was the year. Yeah. Had to get into the after party. Any means
like, I'm going to hop this fence up.
And then went to the airport to fly to New York to do the Daily Show. And yeah.
That's crazy. I was going to say,
too much.
So now we see Jay Prince. He'll get on social media now. Right?
I gotta say, he didn't want to have an Instagram. I set up his Instagram.
So you set him up.
You're gonna have to. He's into it now. Yeah.
Because now he's into it. Now he'll be on there. He'll be.
I don't know if that's him personally, but yeah.
He'll be by the pool. He'll be. I love when Jay Prince throws his he'll put his little it'd be wise if you stood down.
You can read in his voice, right?
Like what he just said about the NBA YoungBoy Drake thing. I was like, I just hear him speaking. Like I'll read the caption in his voice. I was gonna say, what would, in your opinion, be, or not even in your opinion, but as you know him, something that you think is the biggest misconception about Jay Prince? Because I feel like when I met him, he just seemed like such a nice guy, and I feel like when we think of Jay Prince, we think of this figure that you got to go to Texas, you got to check in with Jay Prince or his son, but I feel like there's a whole side of him that not a lot of people probably see.
That's a good question. I mean, he's a very smart, really, really smart guy. Knows how to maneuver, and he's not a big, boogeyman or anything to me. I mean, I guess if you listen to internet commenters, that might be the perception. But
I mean, he also was. I mean, I want to say one of Floyd Mayweather's first managers. Mm-hmm. So he's he's got
his hands in a lot of stuff. Definitely very savvy businessman, and he's been good to me.
Shout out to Jay Prince.
Working with him.